Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is of course ship updates now. It's quite a show today, so let's get to it. Now, first off, we got some information and we finally got to see the Endeavor. Now, that was on Around the Verse yesterday, and I guess this right here is some very early concept art of the ship. But then with the next few images, you'll see that they're all very similar in design, so it looks like they've really narrowed it down at this point. Now, you also remember that the Endeavor shares its hull with the Hope-class hospital ship, but chances are we'll probably get the Endeavor and its first basic modules first, and then the Hope-class will come later, and we'll probably have some things sort of like a battlefield upgrade kit that we can kind of turn the Endeavor into the Hope, or we can just go and buy the Hope outright and have a kit to turn it back into the Endeavor. Who knows? We also found out that Gurmukh Basin is going to be working on the P-72 Archimedes next, or at least he is slated to. Now that, of course, is the snub fighter or parasite fighter, depending on which description you like better, for the Constellation Phoenix. Next up on Reverse the Verse, we also got a little bit of information on the Freelancer. Now, the Freelancer will not be getting modules, such as in the case of the Vanguard, but rather will remain as variants for now. That's the not the final word on it, but that's the way it's looking for now. Of course, there's no updates on how it's coming along other than it's being worked on in the UK. Also, we got a small tidbit on the Reclaimer today. We found out that it is slated, though I would say it is very vaguely slated by the way that they were saying it, to begin production next year. So not January 1st, but at some point next year. But of course, it's a vague date. They want to get the combat ships in first, so who knows? We also found out today that the next landing zone that we'll be able to play in, sort of like the social module, will in fact be the Nyx landing zone. That was announced today on Reverse the Verse. They were discussing it just briefly. No timeline or even a vague intonation of a date or a year was given, but they just said it's going to be the next one. We also found out that the Redeemer is still being worked on in the UK. There is no date been given yet, just that they are working on it, at Foundry 42. And also, for those of you who are wondering or asking whether or not the Scimitar, the Boomslang, or I can't remember the names of some of the others. The one was the Brutus or something like that. Those ships are still planned, but no work has been done on them yet. Now, once again, we also heard about the Asperia Prowler, and that the main holdup with the Asperia Prowler is that, of course, this ship being an alien ship, or at least based off an alien design, and now built by Asperia, the same company that builds the modern Glaive, or the human version of the Glaive, so to speak. We found out that the big holdup is they don't really know how the Tevarin look right now, and that's of course the race that originally made this ship. So they're still having a bit of issues working out what this ship is going to look like exactly. And once they have that nailed down, then they should be able to proceed with a concept and eventually a concept sail. Now, of course, we did find out a little bit about the Zeon Scout. Unfortunately, it's pretty much the same news that we got last week, just a little bit more defined. Of course, Chris Smith and Josh Hutchins will be taking the ship over. I believe it was Josh Hutchins. Once the Constellation is done, and it's slated to begin end of September, beginning of October at the latest.
Modular.
And we also found out from Lisa Ohanian on Reverse the Verse that she's going to try to get us some new info on Retaliator modules and, of course, some info on the cargo module. Caterpillar variants that are going to be starting up very soon. Now, one of the big things that came up on Reverse the Verse today, and it was right towards the end of the show, is once again the question got asked, has CIG considered bringing out a pocket carrier, a smaller sized carrier other than the Bengal carrier, for moving smaller ships like Hornets, Gladiators, presumably Zeon Scouts, Avengers, ships that may not quite have long range, able to, a ship that can be used as a base of operations out in deep space. And this question's been asked before. There's been a ton of theory crafting done on the forums, and a lot of people have discussed this. Often one of the responses is, well, if you want a little pocket carrier, you can always just go ahead and buy yourself an Idris. Yeah, well, not everybody has. Currently, what do you need to buy an Idris now? About $5,000. That's quite a lot of money for a ship that requires a 10-person crew to run. And, conceivably a pocket carrier could require that, or could require more with maintenance crews and all that. But, the question still stands is, has CIG ever considered putting in a pocket carrier? Now, we've heard of an escort carrier being the Panther, but we haven't heard of just a pocket carrier, something that players could outright purchase for a reasonable amount of money that they could bring into the game, and that would allow them to serve as a base of operations for their friends who own Hornets, who own Gladiators, and allow them to travel through space together as more or less one element, and being able to move all their ships together. Now, I have to say that I come out in favor of this. I feel that, in a lot of my kind of digging through the ships in Star Citizen and looking at all their stats, I have noticed that there does seem to be a bit of a gap in the lineup as to a ship that you can use that's mobile, that can serve as a repair and a refueling point, but also isn't limited sail like the Idris is, and it isn't something that requires a large amount of money to get to. I know there are certain orgs out there that amongst the members, they are trying to pool funds to buy Idrises, or in some cases, when the when the Javelin came out, people were trying to pool funds to get Javelins, and some people in fact did do that. But I do support the idea of a player-operated starship that can be used as a mobile refueling and rearming point, and possibly some limited repair for players. I very much support that. I think something like that would be maybe in the $500 to $600 range, a ship that would have very long range, but little or any armaments to it. It would require the fighters that go along with it to defend it, to protect it. But it would possibly have certain defensive capabilities, being that for some reason it would be difficult to detect, or that it could be used as command and control from a large distance away, and so it wouldn't be really putting itself at risk. I think that that's a good idea for a ship, and I think that that's an idea that CIG should pursue. And I know that they were kind of laughing at the question on the show, and they said, well, why do we have to design it when you guys are so busy theory crafting your way into trying to make other ships into a pocket carrier? And I think the reason why so many people are doing it is because so many people realize that there's a need for a ship like that, and they want a ship like that, and maybe it's something that, a suggestion that could be taken a little bit more seriously. Now, that's pretty much the end of the show for this week. If you'd like to see more, there's last week's episode of the Ship Update show, which is, of course, done every Friday, usually somewhat after Reverse the Verse, once I can get all my notes together. And you can click on this link to the right to go to that. Or you can go and check out my other show, The Piracy Show, where I kind of discuss piracy-related topics. And that is, of course, this link over here on the left, and that usually airs on Tuesdays. Not every Tuesday, because I can't always promise that there'll be something piracy-related to discuss, but hopefully. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.